Sister manipulated my whole family against my partner, forcing a breakup and leaving me feeling like a prisoner in my own life. I, 25F, met my partner, 29 male, in 2020 while I was finishing my undergrad studies, and we were both in the same field. Our first conversations were deep about our personal philosophies, culture, faith, and our views on the world, and we quickly realized that our values aligned so well. He's funny, attentive, smart, talented, and ambitious, and I was so in love, I still am. We made it official 2 months in. And low-key we both knew we wanted to marry each other already, but of course we didn't rush as we were still finishing up school. We have the same religious background but not the same ethnicity. And for this reason both of us were nervous to tell our parents about our relationship because we didn't know how they'd react. Most ethnic parents would want their kids to keep it within the culture, but from what I know they may be stubborn at first but will come around eventually. Right? For me, ethnicity is a non-issue. We're both religious, so having the same faith is more important in my opinion. I thought my parents would think the same. Because if they're so religious too, then they shouldn't place their cultural values over their faith. Anyway, my partner didn't wait too long to tell his parents. They and his siblings were very supportive and welcomed me with open arms. I, on the other hand, hesitated for the longest time because I really had no idea how my parents would react. I'm a bit fearful of them. And honestly, my relationship with my parents isn't that close. Of course they're caring and all, but not in an emotional way where I can come up to them and be vulnerable about something. Definitely not my dad. This is where I'm at fault, because even if it was hard for me to be honest with them, I should have just done so instead of hiding my relationship from them. My siblings knew before my parents. They didn't care, but my sister, 29, on the other hand, being the eldest, aka, the third parent, was too panicked about it and advised me to just end the relationship because interracial marriage is going to be complicated. But that's not the advice I needed, and I didn't want to just end the relationship either. I truly believe he's my soulmate. Her entire attitude towards it was kinda just, I gave you my 2 cents, I don't want to be involved in this mess. I think it was a year into our relationship and my mom found a birthday card from my partner in my room. She found my stash of greeting cards from him and read them all. She confronted me with them and she wasn't even mad, but when I told her about his ethnicity, she freaked out. She made me tell my dad and he just LOL'd in my face and didn't even let me talk. Took a couple of days for my mom to calm down because honestly she really was overreacting. The conclusion was they ain't happy with the relationship and wanted me to end it. I didn't want to, of course. It was swept under the rug, and for the next 3 years, my partner and I continued our relationship and even went on some trips together, but my parents were in the dark about the specifics of it all, which, of course, the dishonesty is very wrong, but in my mind, they didn't create a safe space for me to be honest with them. I couldn't just tell them, oh hey, I'm going out for dinner and he's going to be there, bye, love you XO. The conversation about us would only be brought up occasionally in those 3 years, because at this point me and him are ready to get engaged and we just need my dad's blessing. It would always end in an argument, feelings hurt and no blessings given. They refused to even meet him. I'm still being patient and holding out hope that my dad will come around or something. By mid-2024, my dad hadn't properly spoken to me in like 2 years, but my mom on the other hand is a lot more understanding. I wouldn't say she's supportive, but understanding at least. In her words, she just wants to help me avoid an unsuccessful marriage, because in her mind, interracial marriages just don't work, but if I'm so sure about him then she will be by my side, and if it fails, she'll be there with open arms. My parents are traditional, but she's always been the more level-headed one between them, besides that freak out the first time. Now the catastrophe. End of 2024, my sister suddenly stepped in and asked to meet my partner. She's my dad's favorite, and if there's one person that could sway his thoughts, it would be her. So, this opportunity excited me and my partner because it finally felt like there's light in the end of this tunnel. We have been patient, but the stress of all this was starting to put a strain in our relationship, especially in the last 2 years. But we loved each other a lot and didn't want to let go no matter what, and we would always work things out with communication. Sister and him met up and talked for hours. I wasn't there, but it went well and he left a good impression on her and she said she'll talk to my dad. Side note, him and I discussed beforehand that we don't need to disclose how many times we saw each other or what trips he was involved with. We know the dishonesty and hiding was wrong, but we felt like we were entitled to that privacy at the very least. He's the type that loves honesty and just says fuck what people think, but I just didn't believe honesty works with my parents, especially my dad, because he's someone that's very critical and will shame you for your different values/beliefs/WTV. Now, I thought things will be dandy from here on, but my sister was acting weird and distanced, and when I would ask her what's wrong she would brush it off. 3 weeks of this pass and it's the new year now. My mom sent me off to do some errands for her. At a suspicious time of the day, and I really felt like something was off. I come back home and my parents and siblings are all in the living room telling me, sit down, we need to talk. My heart dropped. I'm sorry if this is not very detailed because honestly, that event was so traumatizing. They said they hired an investigator to find out everything about my partner and what our relationship entailed. That was a lie, of course. My parents didn't want to admit it was my sister that went through my devices and looked through all my messages and emails and ransacked my entire room. She proudly admitted to it later. And from their findings, they concluded that he's a liar, a gaslighter, a manipulator, and that I'm a victim of this relationship. They said they found out about all our dates and trips and are holding him accountable for it, that I was forced to lie and do things against my will and that him showering me with gifts is just a way to manipulate me. A lot was said and I just felt embarrassed and humiliated. It was 6 against 1, and I couldn't say anything to defend myself or him. I felt like I was being stripped naked as they went on and on and on about what they uncovered and whatever conclusions they drew from them. Him and I are semi-long distance, so most of our talks are through texts, so for them to read everything like my vulnerable side that I only felt comfortable showing him, our intimate conversations, our arguments where we both showed some really ugly sides of us, it just felt so invasive. They claimed he's putting a wedge between me and them and that I was ruining the family peace. They wanted me to feel shame and it worked. In the end I was given an ultimatum and I felt like I had no other choice but to just agree with them and leave him. I was numb. They made me block him and my sister texted him that we're over and threatened to file a retraining order if he were to come near me. He didn't answer that text. I was numb and I couldn't even cry anymore. I surrendered, I couldn't even fight anymore. At that point I was just nodding and agreeing to whatever they say. The following days, they were so nice to me, because I was a good daughter and I complied to them. And they were the heroes that saved me from a toxic man. But I'm on house arrest and on close watch. I had to hand over my phone when they asked so that they make sure I never reach out to him. My soulmate was ripped away from me and I didn't know what to do. 2 to 3 weeks later, I woke up a little from my numbness. I was angry. I was angry at my sister for betraying my trust, I was angry at my father for being so bigoted, I was angry at all of them for invading my privacy, I was angry at the entire situation because it's not my fault they never gave me the support and comfort to even be honest with them. I made mistakes but I blame them for it. I cried to my mom about it and I told her, you know what, if you guys think he's a bad person, I would rather learn that on my own than to be forced to leave him and regret it my entire life. They treat me like a fucking kid. I told her I will always be angry at them for what they did. She urged me to talk to my dad again and tell him what I told her. She told me I should just proceed with marrying my partner against their wishes and accept any consequences. She told me she'll be by my side. Before I talked to my dad, I sent him a letter through text. We're both non-confrontational people, so I felt like this would be a good way to express my feelings. I apologized deeply for everything. I clarified that I never meant disrespect to him or my family members. I put anger aside for this letter because anger doesn't work with a stubborn man like my dad. I tried to be vulnerable. I tried to tell him that all I want is their support and trust in me. My dad didn't give an answer to that letter, but he forwarded it to my sister and she blew up on me, by text, and called me a manipulator for sending that letter. Her words were so nasty, she had never made me cry as much as she did back then. My dad came to my room afterward to talk, or rather yell at me. I had never cried so much. Whoever that was in front of me wasn't my dad. I never knew he could be so cruel. He threatened to leave my mom and tear this family apart if I chose to be with my partner. I'm broken and numb and I've never felt so alone, I don't know what to do. Update 1. January me was probably expecting lots of sympathy or whatever, but you guys were harsh and tbh I needed to hear that. You guys are completely right. While what my family did was evil and wrong, my life is in my hands and it's my fault for not stepping up for myself, and my partner, sooner. I can't keep expecting things to be done for me. I wanted to make this post to clarify some things and update you about what has happened since January. It may not be the most satisfying update, but I at least have changed a lot since then. First of all, I am still in contact with my partner. I don't blame you for assuming otherwise since that post was uploaded months later, so it was pretty confusing. When my family did the whole thing of making me block him everywhere and take my devices, and basically threatened me to not talk to him. That lasted like maybe 3 days. It was in the middle of the night, I was crying hard BC I missed him but also BC I'm here, alone, extremely heartbroken just wishing someone would hold me and show some sort of real care towards me and what I'm going through, and I realized wow, my family really doesn't give a fuck about me. Like at least check up on me? When they would, it was more of a just making sure you know your place type of checking up. So I reached out to him and told him everything. There was a lot of I told you so from him and I really do give him a lot of credit for putting up with my bullshit. My entire life, I was trained like a monkey, as one of the comments said, to be obedient for literally minimal reward, and I thought if I was just gentle with my approach and still did everything they wanted from me, I would get what I wanted in the end because I earned it, right? No, and this is not a unique experience unfortunately, this is so common with people in many cultures because parents for some reason believe they are entitled to make choices for their adult children. My partner was understanding and helped me finally see that the environment I'm living in is toxic and abusive. And no amount of obedience and kindness is going to make them respect me. I've been getting therapy for months now, and, shocker / it really helps. I would always question what I did wrong and how I can approach them differently to get different results. I would always question why my sister would betray me like that. I would always question why my father would tell me I deserve to be hurt, and so many other questions, but I've let go of caring for any sort of answer now. I've let go of the idea that I need any approval from them. I've let go of ever having a civil conversation with them. I've let go of any expectations. I still live with them unfortunately. I don't talk with my dad and I don't talk with my sister. I keep things cordial with my mom, but I don't trust confiding in her anymore because at the end of the day she feels the need to side with her husband. Her 60-year-old man-child of a husband that's been verbally abusing her for years now and throwing tantrums anytime things don't go his way, but instead of making him aware of himself, my sister and mom just choose to give him what he wants no matter who it hurts. I still have 2 years of education with no income and I need this degree in my career, so it wouldn't make sense to drop out temporarily. Update 2. They called it a family dinner. My mom asked if I could come straight home after class because my aunt was dropping by. That alone was weird because my aunt only ever comes on weekends, never midweek. When I pulled up, my dad's car was already in the driveway, which means he left work early. Another red flag. I walked in with that pit in my stomach I get before a bad exam. My sister was in the living room with a binder on her lap. Not a notebook. A full-on binder. My brother had his arms crossed like he was guarding a door. And there was a stranger sitting in my father's chair. He introduced himself like I should know him. He's a family friend, an elder at one of the community centers we grew up around. It clicked. They wanted a mediator who would carry their beliefs better than they could, someone I wouldn't yell at. Sit, my dad said. So I sat. My sister slid the binder to the coffee table and opened it like a presentation. She had printed screenshots, dates, plane tickets, hotel confirmations, Instagram photos, paragraphs of my texts. The elder cleared his throat and did the whole soft voice thing. We are here to help you see what you cannot see. It was the same script I've heard all year, but dressed up. He said the relationship was steeped in secrecy and impurity, that the deception pointed to manipulation, and that my partner had isolated me from my family. He kept using words like corrupted, bondage, and surrender. He said I needed guidance from women who understand purity. He said they would help me repair the breach with my family. My sister flipped pages like a lawyer. July 2022, Seattle, she read. November 2023, Toronto. She liked saying those details out loud. She paused on one screenshot from a fight we had during the worst stretch of last year, when we were both overwhelmed. Look at how he speaks to you, she said. Look at how you apologize for existing. Then she pointed to a photo of a necklace he got me. Love bombing. Classic manipulation. He buys you things so you obey him. I said I bought it myself. She ignored me. They slid a paper across the coffee table. Typed, formatted, bullet points. Expectations, it said. No contact with him in any form. Blocked on all platforms. Agreement to be monitored for accountability. Immediate involvement in purity counseling with approved women from the community. Surrender all devices for a full review and installation of accountability software. Share all passwords and enable 24/7 location sharing indefinitely. Weekly check-ins with elder. Under that, it said, failure to comply will result in removal from school and cessation of all financial support, including housing, phone, car insurance, and tuition. It actually said removal from school like they have a button for that. The elder folded his hands and looked at me like he could see if I was lying. My dad said, if you are serious about your faith, prove it. My mom didn't say anything at first. My sister stared at me with that face she makes when she thinks she's being merciful, tight smile, eyebrows up. I felt like I was watching a courtroom show, except I was the defendant and a toddler at the same time. I asked how long the no contact would be. They answered, until the counselors and elder agree your heart has changed. Which could be years or forever. I asked if I could have a night to think. My dad said the decision was now. The elder said, delaying obedience is disobedience. I stared at the paper until the words blurred. I was not going to sign, but I also was not going to set off a bigger war in that room. I said I wasn't signing anything without reading it carefully. My sister rolled her eyes and told me I could read it in my room, but I needed to hand over my phone right then. So I handed it over powered off, because I was not stupid. I took the paper and went upstairs. 5 minutes later there was a knock. My sister came in without waiting and said I also had to give her my laptop. We're not playing games, she said. Dad's being generous. You have until tonight. I gave her the old Chromebook I used in undergrad and told her my laptop was at the repair shop because of a battery issue. That bought me a sliver of time. She handed my phone back and told me to unlock it and put my thumbprint in a new security update. I held the phone and watched her watch me. I unlocked it with Face ID and put it on my bed. I said I needed to pee and went into the bathroom with the door unlocked, flush, water, the works. Then I went back, took my phone, and pretended to scroll open the settings like I was installing something. She scanned the screen like a hawk. I took the paper and nodded. Smile. All good. See? I'm a good daughter. She left. I shut my door, locked it, and did exactly one thing, airplane mode. Then I looked. There was a new icon on the home screen I definitely didn't download. It looked like a gray calendar. When I long pressed it, the description said system maintenance. I didn't try to open it. I went straight to settings and checked device management. There was an unknown profile installed with remote management privileges. My chest went cold. They'd either taken my phone earlier or installed it when I agreed to the elder's crap. Either way, they were going to watch everything. I pulled my old iPod from the closet where I keep random old electronics and charged it using my laptop charger. Then I pulled out the email I had written months ago when I first realized I'd need a backup plan. It had my therapist's number on it. It took 5 minutes for the iPod to light up. I tethered it to my laptop's hotspot because I didn't trust our home Wi-Fi now either. Within 10 minutes I was texting my therapist from a secure messenger app we had set up after the first intervention. I told her the situation in bullet points: elder present, no contact agreement, surrender passwords, software installed, threat to reverse tuition and cut me off. I told her I had my laptop, passport, and some cash in an envelope, but my dad controlled the car and my line on the phone plan. She texted back immediately. She said this was escalating into coercive control. She told me to stop using my phone for anything sensitive and to operate on the iPod/laptop only. She told me to turn off my phone entirely when I was not in common spaces. She suggested we make a safety plan for leaving. The plan she laid out was simple and specific. Reach out to campus counseling first thing in the morning. Then financial aid. Ask about emergency aid, tuition forbearance, and payment plans. Ask about on-campus emergency housing. Ask about campus safety escort to move. If I plan to leave, do not announce it. Pack essentials and documents, not everything. Don't explain, just go. She also told me to consider doing a factory reset on my phone after I got out, but not to do it in the house. For now, minimum usage. I sat with that plan and realized I was done negotiating in that living room. That feeling I had after the first intervention, numb, compliant, was gone. I texted my partner from the iPod. He called immediately. I didn't answer, because I didn't trust the noise. I texted, can't call. Spyware on phone. Elder here, they want me to sign no contact plus purity counseling. Being cut off. He wrote back, okay. Focus on getting safe. We'll help you. He told me to keep breathing. He said his parents had the spare room ready if I needed it. I slept with the iPod inside a sock in my pillowcase. My phone stayed on my nightstand, powered down with the screen dark and my face turned away. I woke up every hour thinking someone was standing over me. In the morning I went to campus early. I kept the phone off and pretended it died. I walked straight to the counseling center and asked to speak with someone about a safety issue. They got me in with the crisis counselor. I told her what was happening, that my family had installed monitoring software and were threatening to withdraw my tuition and make me withdraw. She didn't blink. She said she's seen versions of this. She explained what the university could and couldn't do. She told me there was an emergency housing program that could put me in a temporary dorm room for 2 weeks if I needed to move fast. After that, I'd need to work with housing or off-campus options. She told me about student emergency funds that could cover food and immediate expenses. She asked if I felt physically unsafe. I said I didn't think they'd hit me, but I was scared of my dad blocking the door or taking my stuff. She said they could arrange a campus police escort when I went to pick up my things. They could also issue a no trespass order to my family if they showed up on campus. Then I walked to financial aid with my heart pounding. I explained that my parents had paid my current semester's tuition with their money and were now threatening to reverse it. The woman at the desk took me to a small office and pulled up my account. She told me something I hadn't known. If a payment is reversed, the balance comes due immediately, but the school has a short-term institutional loan program that can cover it temporarily if I'm enrolled and in good standing. It's not automatic. I'd have to apply and explain the situation. She gave me the forms and told me to also apply for the emergency grant. There was also a payment plan option that could spread the balance over months, but I'd need some source of income. I asked her straight, if my parents reverse it today, how long before they drop my classes? She said it varies, but usually they give 10 days before disenrolling. 10 calendar days, she said, like a countdown. She printed the application and stapled it. I sat in the student union and called my therapist from the iPod over Wi-Fi. We made a list. Things I needed to pack: passport, social security card, birth certificate, spare keys, laptop, chargers, medication, a week of clothes, my diploma, and transcripts, hard drive, that envelope with $180 I keep in a book. She told me to scan any documents I didn't already have scans of. She told me to back up my laptop to the external drive. She told me to screenshot the agreement they gave me and the monitoring profile info so I had evidence. My partner texted that he and his friend could come with a car that night. His friend has this beat-up SUV with the back seats down. He also said his dad had called someone he knows, a lawyer, to ask about the restraining order my sister threatened. His dad's friend said they can't file anything without grounds, and none of this qualifies. He also said if anyone pretends to be a lawyer and texts you, ask for their bar number. My mom called around noon. I let it go to voicemail. She texted, please answer. I typed on my secret device, can't talk. Phone died. I'll be home at 6. She sent back a thumbs up and a heart. At 3 p.m., my sister texted, Dad wants your passwords tonight. Don't make this harder. The fake kindness had evaporated. I turned my phone on for 30 seconds so I could read the texts and then turned it back off. I couldn't risk them tracking my location. I stopped by the campus police department and asked about escorts. The officer was straightforward. They can meet me at my house if I feel unsafe, but they'd prefer to meet at the curb. If it escalates, call 911. Otherwise, call the non-emergency line. He gave me a card with the number and wrote his name. He said, if your dad tries to block you, that's not illegal unless he physically restrains you. But if he grabs you or your stuff, call us. I stood outside after that with everything spinning. I had two choices: stay, sign, and live like a child for the next who knows how long, or leave and risk losing school, money, and whatever is left of my family. This is where all those months of therapy landed. I didn't cry. I just decided. I went home like nothing was different. I hugged my mom in the kitchen. Her face was tired and she smelled like onions and laundry detergent. She whispered, "How was class?" I said, "Fine." She looked at my dead-looking phone and then at my face. She said, barely audible, "He wants your passwords tonight. He also said he's reversing the tuition by Friday." I said okay, and she looked at me like she didn't know me. Then she did something I didn't expect. She turned off the sink, dried her hands, and said, "When you go, go now. Don't wait." She walked away. I went upstairs. I locked my door and put my backpack on the bed. I started packing like I was going on a 2-day trip. Laptop, chargers, hard drive, 2 notebooks, textbooks for the classes I'd actually be in next week, 1 hoodie, 2 pairs of jeans, 4 shirts, underwear, socks, sneakers. I took the frame off my wall and slid my diploma and transcripts into a folder. I fished the envelope of cash from the bookshelf and counted, $180. I had $280 in checking. I scanned my birth certificate and social security card with my laptop camera just in case. Then I slid my passport, SS card, and a few other documents into a manila envelope. While I was zipping the backpack, my door opened. My mom stood there with her hands shaking. She closed the door behind her and took a deep breath. She opened her purse and pulled out a small zippered pouch. She put it on my desk. Passport, mine; social security card, mine; birth certificate, mine. She also placed a rolled up wad of bills, probably from the emergency cash she keeps for the house. "Go now," she said. "Don't tell me where. I will lie if I have to." Her face was flat, like she had turned something off inside. I hugged her and she didn't hug back for a second. Then she did. She whispered, "Be smart." My partner texted, "We're 10 minutes out." I put my phone, still off, into the outer pocket of my backpack. My iPod buzzed with the message. I double-checked the desk and closet and grabbed my external hard drive. I took a photo of the binder on the coffee table downstairs when nobody was there. I took a photo of the agreement and the elder's business card. Evidence. I met my partner and his friend at the curb. My mom stood in the doorway like a statue. We didn't say anything. The neighbor's porch light flickered on. We loaded my stuff fast. It's funny how everything you think you need, you don't, when you know you can't afford to carry it. Then my dad's truck pulled into the driveway, faster than usual. He slammed the door and immediately started shouting, words I've heard since I was 12 and got a B in math. "Disgrace. After everything we've done. That boy is not stepping foot here." He reached for the bag in my partner's hands. My partner stepped back and said, "Calm, sir, we're leaving, we're not here to fight." My dad tried to grab the strap anyway. My partner's friend said, equally calm, "I'm calling the police non-emergency line." He was already on the phone before my dad could escalate it. My sister appeared behind my dad like the sidekick in a cartoon. She started recording. "Look at this," she said, like she'd caught me stealing. "Look at the adulteress." I laughed, which made her furious. My hands were shaking, but I laughed. The non-emergency operator asked the address. My partner's friend explained we were leaving. Dad was trying to stop us, no weapons, just yelling. The operator said to keep it moving and call back if it got physical. He put the phone on speaker very quietly, like a buffer. My dad yelled something about community shame and said he'd call everyone and tell them I was disowned. He said he'd call the school and get me removed. He threw in that he was reversing the tuition tonight. The way he said it made me realize he'd already done it or put in the request. I looked at my mom. She looked at the ground. We got in the SUV. He walked into the street like he would block the car. My mom stepped off the porch and said his name in a tone I've rarely heard. He stopped. We pulled away. My sister shouted that she'd get a restraining order. I looked out the back window and saw my mom's hand before she put it to her mouth. The drive to my partner's parents' house took 30 minutes. In the car I turned my phone on and immediately switched it to airplane mode. It lit up with 1,000 notifications. I didn't open any of them. I opened my email on the iPod using Wi-Fi from my partner's mobile hotspot. The subject line hit me like a slap. Notice, payment reversed. Action required in 10 days. I opened it. It was exactly what the financial aid woman had warned me about. A payment in the amount of $tuition amount has been reversed. Your current balance due is $tuition amount. If payment is not received within 10 calendar days, your enrollment will be canceled. It had a link to view options, which just went to the account portal. It was 9:12 p.m., so if the email timestamp counted as day 0, that meant 10 days starting now. We got to the house and his mom hugged me at the door. She didn't ask any questions. She had a small room ready with clean sheets and a folded towel. She had sat a bowl of fruit on the desk and a bottled water on the nightstand. I cried then, quietly, into her shoulder. His dad shook my hand like he was shaking the hand of a person, not a problem. He said, "We are happy to help while you figure this out." He didn't say, "Finally, or we told you." His sister texted me the Wi-Fi password without making a fuss. They had all clearly had a conversation about respecting the boundaries. My partner put my bag down and closed the door. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at it and frowned. He showed me a text from an unknown number with a very official tone. "This is attorney, name, representing, my family's last name. Cease and desist all contact with me. Any further attempts will result in legal action and a restraining order." My stomach dropped for a second, then climate controlled again. I typed, "Please ask for bar number." He responded, "Provide your bar number and jurisdiction." No response. He sent another, "We will verify licensure." Still nothing. He sent a final text, "You are required by law to identify yourself if you are contacting us as counsel." Then he blocked the number and forwarded it to his dad's friend, the actual lawyer. 10 minutes later the lawyer texted back, "Not a licensed attorney. Number is a Google Voice shadow with routing to a local tower. Ignore, screenshot and save." The lawyer name didn't exist in the state bar registry. The tone even matched my sister's way of writing. It was sloppy. We sat on the edge of the bed and let silence sit between us. He took my hand. "No elopement," he said, repeating what we'd promised. "No big decisions until you're safe and steady. School first." I nodded. I wanted to marry him yesterday, but he was right. The priority was keeping my enrollment and getting out of constant crisis. I opened my laptop and logged into the student account. The red banner was there, past due balance. I clicked request emergency aid and filled in the form. They asked for a description. I wrote, "Loss of financial support due to family coercion, immediate housing displacement, tuition reversal. Working with counseling, financial aid, and campus police. Need short-term bridge and emergency housing." It asked if I had a police report. I said no, but I attached the email from the university, a screenshot of the reversed payment, the agreement my family wanted me to sign, and the elder's card. I also wrote the contact info for the crisis counselor I had met earlier that day. I applied for the institutional loan too. The portal said decisions are typically made within 3 to 5 business days. The clock in my head ticked. 10 calendar days. I made a calendar event for day 9, worst case plan. His mom knocked and set a plate of food outside the door. I ate it even though I wasn't hungry. I realized how long it had been since I felt safe enough to notice if I was hungry or full. I texted my mom from the iPod, "I'm safe. I love you." She wrote back, "Okay." I didn't know if she was typing through tears or in the bathroom or with my dad in the next room, asking who she was texting. I didn't respond. I turned off the iPod and put it on the nightstand. My phone stayed on airplane mode because I didn't want any of their tracking software waking up and pinging. I slept like a person who'd run a marathon on a treadmill with a fire behind it. In the morning I woke up before the house and sat at the desk with a sticky note. I wrote 3 options because that's how my brain claws out of spirals. 1. Secure emergency aid/loan through school. Ask about short-term tuition loans, payment plan, emergency grant. Meet with financial aid again. Follow up daily. If that covers it, I stay enrolled and can breathe. 2. Withdraw for a semester. Move into whatever cheap room I can find, get a full-time job, build savings, re-enroll with my independence intact later. Lose momentum, but gain control. 3. Accept my partner's family's money. Let them cover this semester now. Pay them back later. Risk the criticism in my head about replacing one family's control with another's even though they've been nothing but respectful. I stuck the note to the wall by the desk. 10 days. The countdown started. Somewhere across town, my dad was probably drafting the announcement he wanted to make to the community groups about how he'd lost his daughter. Somewhere, my sister was probably combing through my accounts to see if she could get a hit. My phone sat on airplane mode like a dead fish. My computer held all my applications and PDFs and the thin thread I was trying to braid into a rope. At 9:07 a.m., my email pinged with a message from financial aid. "We received your application. Please come to the office to discuss." I grabbed my backpack, slid my documents into the zippered pouch my mom gave me, and stood up. On the way out of the room I looked at the sticky note one more time, the 3 lines like a menu I didn't want to order from. I left it there and walked downstairs. The clock on the microwave said 9:12, exactly 12 hours since the 10 days email. Every minute counted now, and I didn't know what my dad's next move would be. I just knew mine.